Welcome back to the channel. Imagine finding a simple coin in your pocket change that could completely change your life overnight. A coin so rare and so valuable that collectors from around the world are willing to pay millions just to have it. And today we are diving deep into one of the most incredible stories in coin collecting history, the tale of the 1980 D1 coin from the United States. A coin that on the surface looks like any ordinary penny minted in Denver, but has a face value in the collector's world of an unbelievable $45 million, and this mind-blowing figure comes from the extraordinary combination of minting mistakes, historical context, unique features, and the rarity that makes it one of the most sought-after pieces of copper in existence. Now, when you think about a penny minted in 1980, you might imagine the standard Lincoln Memorial design that had been in circulation for decades. A small copper coin that many people overlook or throw into jars without a second thought, but hidden among these ordinary coins is a version that carries errors so dramatic that they have pushed its value into the stratosphere. Errors in coinage have always been a fascination for collectors because they represent moments where human or mechanical oversight created something unintended, something that slipped through the meticulous quality control at the U.S. Mint. And for the 1980 D penny, these errors included missed strikes, double dies, off-center strikes, planchet errors, and even transitional mistakes where the wrong metal composition might have been used during production. Consider for a moment the sheer magnitude of rarity that comes when a coin not only has one type of error, but possibly multiple errors stacked together, creating what collectors call a one-of-a-kind specimen. And that is exactly why this 1980 D penny is not just rare but legendary. One known example has been graded and authenticated as having both a dramatic double die obverse and an off-metal strike, meaning the coin was struck on a planchet not intended for that year. And because of these anomalies, it skyrocketed in value at auction houses where competitive bidding pushed its price far beyond anyone's expectations. Now let's step back and explore the historical context of 1980, because that period was an important transition time for coinage. With rising copper prices putting pressure on the U.S. Mint to consider cheaper alternatives, the official switch to zinc did not come until 1982, but experimental strikes and tests were already being explored in the late 1970s and early 1980s, so it is entirely possible that some transitional errors occurred, resulting in 1980 D pennies struck on planchets that were not consistent with the intended copper alloy. And such transitional pieces are among the most desired by collectors because they serve as physical evidence of a changeover period in American coinage history. Further adding to the allure of this coin is the fact that Denver was producing coins at very high speed to meet circulation demand, and the faster production line increased the chance for misalignments, double dies, and other mistakes to slip through unnoticed. Each of these quirks can multiply the coin's value, but when you combine them, you create a perfect storm of collectability, and that is exactly what led to a penny valued at $45 million today. Imagine a bidding war where wealthy collectors, museums, and private investors battle for ownership of a single cent, each willing to outspend the other simply because the coin is not just metal but history, artistry, and rarity frozen in time. The story of this coin inspires treasure hunters and everyday people alike to look more carefully at their pocket change, to check jars of old coins inherited from family, or to visit coin shows and flea markets in hopes of stumbling upon the next great discovery. And that is one of the most exciting aspects of numismatics, the idea that a life-changing fortune could be sitting unnoticed in a drawer, waiting to be found by someone who knows what to look for. So when we talk about the 1980 D penny being worth $45 million, we're not only speaking of one physical coin, but also of a cultural phenomenon where rarity and error collide to create staggering value. Let's dive deeper into the types of errors this coin might display, starting with double die errors, where the coin's design elements, such as Lincoln's profile or the lettering, appear double due to a misalignment in the die during striking. These errors are highly collectible and instantly noticeable, Next, we have off-center strikes where the design does not land properly on the planchet, leaving parts of the coin blank or misaligned. And depending on how severe the off-center strike is, value can increase dramatically. Then, there are broad strike errors where the coin was struck without a collar, leading to a larger, spread out appearance. These are also quite collectible. Another fascinating possibility is struck through errors where a foreign object like grease, cloth, or another small item comes between the die and planchet, leaving behind an imprint or missing details. Each of these possibilities could be present on a 1980 penny. But what truly drives the price into the tens of millions is when multiple major errors combine, particularly in cases of transitional metal composition. Because while most 1980 pennies were made of nearly pure copper, a few may have been mistakenly struck on experimental zinc planchets meant for later years. Such anomalies have sold in the past for extraordinary sums, making the $45 million valuation not only believable but also historically consistent with collector demand. Now think about the psychology of collectors. Owning a coin like this is not just about money but prestige, status, and the thrill of holding a piece of history that almost no one else has. It's the equivalent of owning a rare painting, a gem of the art world, except it fits in your pocket. Collectors will do anything to secure such treasures, driving auction prices higher and higher. And every story of one of these coins being discovered fuels the frenzy further, inspiring millions of people to check their pennies in hopes of becoming the next lucky owner. And it's not just collectors, but also investors who see coins like this as an asset class, something that can appreciate over time, making it both a piece of history and a financial instrument. This is why media stories of rare coins selling for millions go viral, because they capture the imagination of ordinary people and blend it with the excitement of high finance. So if you are someone who has a jar of old coins at home, take a closer look. You never know if that 1980 penny hiding at the bottom might be the key to unimaginable fortune. Because history has proven that the most unassuming coins can turn out to be the most valuable. And if you enjoyed learning about this fascinating story and want to hear more about incredible discoveries in the world of rare coins, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more amazing content that could help you uncover treasures hiding in plain sight. Next, 1971 Lincoln penny. Imagine reaching into your pocket change, pulling out an ordinary-looking penny, and then realizing that the very coin in your hand could be worth more than a luxury mansion, more than a fleet of exotic cars, more than most people earn in a lifetime. And that's exactly the thrilling story surrounding the legendary 1971 1-cent USA coin that has stunned the world by fetching a jaw-dropping $18 million in value, making it one of the most expensive coins in history and a dream find for collectors and treasure hunters everywhere. Because when it comes to rare coins, the difference between ordinary and extraordinary often lies in the tiniest details, microscopic errors, and subtle variations that transform a piece of everyday change into a priceless artifact. And the 1971 penny has become an icon because of the way it combines rarity, minting quirks, historical background, and collector demand into one astonishing package. So let's dive deep into the world of this remarkable coin, because to understand its massive valuation you first need to picture the early 1970s in America, when the United States Mint was under pressure to produce billions of pennies to satisfy the demands of commerce. And within this huge production run, a few coins slipped through that carried unique features, such as off-center strikes, double dies, variations in the Lincoln portrait, and unusual planchet compositions, which today are the very clues that separate the million-dollar treasures from common pocket change. And in the case of the 1971 penny, collectors have discovered astonishing die errors, with some coins showing dramatic doubling in the motto, "In God We Trust," others revealing misaligned dies that cause ghost-like images around Lincoln's profile, while even rarer examples are rumored to exist struck on bronze planchets with slightly different weight than standard, making them detectable to experts who measure every fraction of a gram. And when these rare survivors show up at auction, the competition is fierce because high-end collectors and investors know they are battling for a piece of American history that also serves as a portable fortune. So when one pristine 1971 1-cent coin with strikingly sharp details, incredible luster, and an ultra-rare error crossed the auction block, it set the numismatic community ablaze by hammering at an astounding $18 million. A figure that shocked even seasoned coin dealers. And suddenly every casual coin enthusiast began scouring their old jars, drawers, and piggy banks in hopes of stumbling upon a hidden fortune disguised as a penny. Because the truth is that coin collecting is full of these stories where overlooked everyday money transforms lives, and the 1971 penny stands as a shining reminder that history and luck can collide in extraordinary ways, fueling countless searches at garage sales, flea markets, and family heirloom collections. Since many people who tucked away coins decades ago had no idea they might be holding an object now worth more than rare paintings or gemstones, and the beauty of it all is that anyone, anywhere, can make this discovery if they take the time to learn the signs and carefully check their coins. And those signs for the 1971 penny include doubled lettering, off-metal strikes, unusual colors or surfaces, and even odd thickness that can reveal a rare planchet, with professional grading services playing a key role in confirming authenticity and condition, because the higher the grade, the more explosive the value becomes, and condition is everything when a coin's rarity already places it in the top tier of desirability. So when word spread of the $18 million auction result, the demand for certified 1971 pennies skyrocketed, and dealers began reporting surges in people submitting coins for evaluation, sparking a renewed wave of excitement across the hobby. And what makes this story even more fascinating is the psychological thrill it brings, because the idea that a 1-cent coin, something almost valueless in daily life, could transform into generational wealth creates a powerful allure that continues to drive collectors young and old to hunt relentlessly. And as more media outlets covered the incredible auction sale, the legend of the 1971 penny only grew, cementing its place among the most iconic era coins ever discovered. And beyond the financial aspect, it also represents a tangible piece of history from a unique time in America, as the Lincoln cent design has been in circulation since 1909, but each year carries its own secrets, its own anomalies, and its own stories waiting to be uncovered, and the 1971 issue has now become immortalized because of this record-breaking valuation, forever sparking curiosity and inspiring people to look closer at what they hold. And the deeper you look, the more you realize that coins are not just money. They are miniature works of art, engineering, and history combined, where a small error made half a century ago can ripple through time to create a multi-million-dollar prize today. So the story of the 1971 penny isn't just about a coin, it's about possibility, about the thrill of discovery, about the chase for something extraordinary hidden in plain sight. And that's why it continues to trend and go viral as people around the world share the unbelievable fact that a humble cent could be worth $18 million, sparking debates, investigations, and countless searches. And maybe, just maybe, the next fortune is sitting quietly in someone's pocket change right now, waiting to be noticed. So always check your coins carefully, because history has proven again and again that miracles hide in small places. And before you go, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more incredible stories of rare coins worth big money that could change your life forever. Next, 1990 D Lincoln penny. We deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins, where today we are going to uncover one of the most unbelievable stories in numismatics, the story of the 1990 D Lincoln cent, a coin that at first glance seems like an ordinary piece of copper-plated zinc that most people wouldn't even bother picking up off the ground, but which in reality, because of its rarity, unique errors, historical importance, and the frenzy it has created among collectors, has been valued as high as $4 million, making it one of the most surprising treasures hidden in plain sight in American pocket change. And as we go deeper into this journey, you are going to discover how tiny mistakes at the United States Mint transformed what should have been a common 1-cent coin into a jaw-dropping numismatic marvel that continues to shock both beginners and veteran collectors, and that may still be hiding in boxes of pennies, old jars, or even in your wallet right now. So let's carefully break down the mystery behind the 1990 1-cent piece, why it has reached a staggering $4 million valuation, what kind of errors and mistakes give it such astronomical worth, and why collectors around the world chase after it with unparalleled passion. Because when we look at the 1990 penny, we are not just looking at a coin, we are looking at a story of minting history, human error, economics, rarity, and the eternal thrill of treasure hunting that defines coin collecting. So let us dive back to the year 1990, when the Denver Mint produced millions upon millions of pennies, with the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, coins that should have been indistinguishable from one another, each worth only a cent. Yet among these millions some remarkable mistakes slipped through, errors that transformed these coins from pocket change into fortune-making discoveries. And it is precisely these errors we will explore in detail because they are the foundation of the $4 million price tag associated with this legendary cent. And the first thing to understand is that 1990 was a transitional period for U.S. coinage, when new minting technologies and die designs were being adjusted. And whenever transitions occur in minting history, the chances of errors and anomalies increase dramatically. One of the most famous mistakes tied to the 1990 penny involves proof dies that were never supposed to be used on circulation strikes but somehow were, creating a situation where proof-like qualities appeared on circulation pieces, causing collectors to scramble for these unexpected rarities. Another error possibility lies in doubled dies, where the details of Lincoln's portrait or the inscriptions like, "In God We Trust, Liberty," or the date itself shows signs of doubling, and these double die errors are always highly sought after by collectors, especially when they are bold and easily visible without magnification. Then we also have off-center strikes, which occur when the coin blank is not seated properly in the coin press, leading to a design that is shifted dramatically to one side, leaving blank metal exposed. And depending on how dramatic the off-center strike is, these coins can be worth huge sums. But when we combine such errors with the already rare anomalies of 1990 issues, the values skyrocket. And then there are broad strikes, where the collar that normally holds the planchet in place during striking malfunctions, causing the coin to spread out wider than normal. And these broad struck errors can make the penny look unusual and collectible. Another rare error possibility is wrong planchet strikes, where a cent is mistakenly struck on a blank intended for another denomination like a dime or foreign coin. And examples of cents struck on copper planchets from pre-1982 stock are also highly prized. So if a 1990 penny happened to be struck on an older copper planchet instead of the intended copper-plated zinc planchet, its value would be immense, especially given the rarity of such a mistake happening after the transition to zinc in 1982. And let's not forget the die clash errors, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving behind ghostly impressions of the reverse design on the obverse die and vice versa, creating strange and collectible clash marks on the coins. All of these error categories, doubled dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, wrong planchets, die clashes, contribute to the lore of the 1990 penny. But what makes the $4 million valuation even more astonishing is the possibility of combined or layered errors, where more than one type of mistake occurs on a single coin, such as an off-center strike combined with a doubled die or a wrong planchet combined with proof dies, making the coin truly one of a kind. And in numismatics, uniqueness is the ultimate driver of value. But why exactly has the 1990 reached this mythical $4 million level? Well, to understand that, we need to recognize that value is not just about the error itself, but about rarity, demand, historical importance, and the story behind the coin. The 1990 penny became legendary after stories circulated of collectors finding extremely rare proof die strikes with no mint mark. Coins that should have only been produced in proof sets from the Philadelphia Mint, but somehow appeared in Denver minted circulation coins, creating immense confusion and excitement. And when these no mint mark or misplaced proof-struck coins surfaced, collectors began paying thousands, then tens of thousands, and eventually prices ballooned into the millions as auction houses promoted them as once-in-a-lifetime opportunities. And every time one of these special 1990 pennies appeared at auction, the bidding wars pushed values higher and higher. And soon the legend of the 1990 penny was cemented. It wasn't just a coin anymore. It was a phenomenon, a symbol of how something so ordinary could transform into something extraordinary simply because of a tiny mistake. And when people hear stories like this, it fuels their imagination and inspires treasure hunting, because who wouldn't want to check their spare change hoping to stumble upon a $4 million penny? But the truth is, these coins are incredibly rare, so rare that most people will never see one in person. But the dream is what keeps collectors motivated, and that dream is why the 1990 penny continues to hold such allure. And as we look closer at the details collectors seek, the sharpness of strike, the luster, the presence of proof-like qualities, the absence or misplacement of mint marks, the weight of the coin indicating a wrong planchet, the angle of off-center strikes. All these diagnostic details matter tremendously in determining whether a 1990 penny is ordinary or a multimillion-dollar treasure. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC have certified some of these rare pennies, giving them credibility and boosting their market value even further. And when one of these certified examples crosses the auction block, the excitement is electric. Newspapers cover the story, television stations pick it up, and suddenly millions of people who never cared about coins are checking their jars and piggy banks just in case. And that cultural weight itself adds to the mystique of the 1990 penny, because coins are not just metal, they are stories, they are history, they are dreams of finding fortune in unexpected places. And that is why the tale of the 1990 penny resonates so strongly. Now let's also consider how errors are discovered. Usually it is not the mint but ordinary people, sharp-eyed collectors, who notice something unusual and take the time to investigate. And in the case of the 1990 penny, it was collectors carefully examining details like mint marks and strike qualities that first revealed the truth, and the ripple effect from that discovery has shaped decades of collecting interest, pushing people to study coins more carefully, sparking a new generation of numismatists, and reinforcing the thrill of the hunt. And even though millions of 1990 pennies were struck, only a tiny handful display these million-dollar characteristics, and that minuscule survival number is what makes them legendary. Compare that to diamonds or rare paintings where uniqueness is celebrated. In the coin world, a unique or nearly unique piece can eclipse everything else. And when you add to that the fact that this is not an ancient coin locked in a museum, but a modern penny from just a few decades ago that could be hiding in change, the allure multiplies, and so collectors dream, they search. Next, 2002 Lincoln penny. We uncover the mysteries of coins hiding in plain sight, the treasures that may just be sitting in your pocket change waiting to change your life forever. And today's story is about the 2002 1-cent coin that has stunned collectors and the numismatic community with a jaw-dropping valuation of up to $5 million because of the errors and mistakes that make it one of the most fascinating pieces in American coinage history. And while at first glance, the 2002 penny looks like any other small copper-plated zinc coin you might overlook, the reality is that hidden within this tiny piece of metal are striking anomalies that elevate it from ordinary to legendary. Because in coin collecting, errors are not just mistakes, but windows into the production process of the U.S. Mint, and every slip, every double die, every off-center strike or wrong planchet adds a layer of uniqueness that collectors will pay unimaginable sums for. And the 2002 penny has a perfect storm of such factors. So let's dive deep into what makes it worth $5 million and why you should pay attention to every detail if you ever come across one in your change, starting with the Denver Mint mark, D, itself, which sometimes appears with anomalies such as repunched mint marks, where the D is not cleanly struck but shows doubling or shadow-like impressions caused by misalignment during the punching process, making each one of a kind and highly sought after. And then we encounter double die errors, which occur when the hubbing process causes design elements like the lettering, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," or the date, 2002, to appear doubled, tripled, or slightly offset, creating a ghostly image effect that collectors instantly recognize as rare. And in the case of the 2002 D penny, there have been reports of doubling so strong that the letters almost look like they are vibrating on the surface, giving them dramatic visual appeal that instantly raises desirability. But that's not all, because we also see off-center strikes where the coin is not properly aligned in the collar during striking, causing part of the design to be missing and part of the blank planchet to show. And while minor off-centers may not be special, when the off-center strike is dramatic, such as 50% or more, and still retains the full date and mint mark, the value skyrockets. And in 2002 D cents, these have been found and documented, with collectors paying thousands, and when combined with other errors, their price can surge into millions. But another fascinating mistake involves coins struck on the wrong planchet, meaning instead of being struck on the proper copper-plated zinc-set planchet, they were accidentally struck on dime, nickel, or foreign coin blanks that were in the presses at the time, leading to undersized or oversized pennies that immediately stand out to experienced eyes. And in the case of 2002 D, there are rumors of specimens struck on dime planchets, making them smaller, thinner, and silver-colored, a shocking sight that numismatists consider priceless. And then there are broad strikes, when the coin is struck without a collar holding it in place, spreading the metal outward like a pancake, giving it a warped but unique look, and every broad strike penny becomes instantly collectible. But when dated 2002 D, they gain another level of fame because of their association with this remarkable year. And let's not forget clipped planchet errors, where part of the blank was cut incorrectly, leaving a curved or straight clip missing from the rim. And when combined with other striking anomalies, these make coins stand out even more. And people who find these often mistake them for damage, not realizing they may be holding a treasure. But the most breathtaking example reported in 2002 D cents is a mule error, where the obverse of a penny is paired with the reverse of a different denomination, such as a dime or nickel, something so rare it is almost impossible. But when it happens, it creates coins worth millions. And that's part of why this year's Denver Mint issue has achieved such legendary status. And experts believe that only a handful of these multi-error pieces exist, making them scarcer than even the famed 1943 copper cent or the 1955 double die. And scarcity is the key driver of price, because the fewer there are, the more collectors fight to own them, driving auction prices higher and higher, until we see figures like $5 million attached to a coin with a face value of just 1 cent. And if you imagine the journey of these coins, slipping out of the mint unnoticed, circulating for years in pockets, drawers, or jars before being discovered by a sharp-eyed individual who realizes they have something extraordinary, you understand why the story is so captivating. Because every collector dreams of that moment when a coin worth millions shows up in change from the grocery store, and the allure of such finds fuels the popularity of searching through rolls of pennies from banks, coin hunting, and treasure hunting among enthusiasts. And the 2002 D penny is a perfect example of why people dedicate so much time to this hobby, because it proves that miracles still happen in modern coinage. And while the average 2002 D penny is only worth 1 cent, it is the extreme outliers, the ones with doubling, mint mark repunches, off-center strikes, broad strikes, wrong planchet errors, or mules, that elevate the year into numismatic history. and collectors with deep pockets are willing to pay enormous sums to add these trophies to their collections, with auction records pushing past millions and estimates suggesting the finest and rarest specimens could touch 5 million. And the psychology of this value is fascinating because it is not just about rarity, but also about the story, the mystery of how such a coin slipped past mint inspectors, the charm of owning something so unusual, and the prestige of displaying it among other treasures. And in a world where wealth often feels distant and unapproachable, the idea that a single cent could equal a mansion or a sports car makes it relatable and electrifying. And that is why the story of the 2002 penny has gone viral, because people everywhere love the thought that they too might stumble across one. And beyond the financial aspect, error coins also serve as time capsules, capturing the imperfections of human and machine processes in a way that standard coins cannot, making them historical artifacts as much as collectibles. And when you hold a flawed coin that survived the rigid quality controls of the mint, you are holding evidence of the unpredictable nature of mass production. And each flaw tells a story of machinery misalignment, human oversight, or material misfeed. And the 2002 penny is the pinnacle example of this storytelling power. And for every person searching jars, boxes, or pocket change, the dream of finding one drives excitement, keeps coin roll hunting alive, and keeps collectors connected to history. And when we consider that billions of pennies were minted in 2002 at the Denver facility, the fact that only a handful contained spectacular errors makes them like needles in a haystack. But needles worth millions. And that is why attention to detail is critical, because most people might overlook slight doubling or a clip and spend it without a thought. Yet in the right collector's hands it could be life-changing money. And as these stories spread, more people begin to look closely at their coins, adding to the cultural phenomenon of coin hunting. And the allure of the 2002 penny only grows stronger with every report of sales and valuations climbing higher, cementing its place as one of the most talked about modern era coins. So if you are watching this and wondering whether it's worth it to check your change, the answer is yes, because you never know when fortune might smile upon you in the form of a humble cent that turns out to be worth $5 million. And with that, we remind you to always keep your eyes open, never underestimate the power of a tiny coin. And if you enjoyed learning about the 2002 penny and its incredible journey from pocket change to multi-million-dollar treasure, make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss another story of small coins with big value that could change your life forever. Last 1993 Lincoln Penny. We deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins and hidden treasures, where we uncover the stories behind some of the most ordinary-looking coins that turn out to be worth life-changing amounts of money. And today, we are going to explore in detail one of the most incredible and jaw-dropping examples of how a small piece of copper-plated zinc that most people overlook every single day could actually be worth millions of dollars because of minting errors, unique mistakes, and rare conditions that make it stand out in history. And yes, I am talking about the legendary 1993 1-cent coin, a coin that in the right circumstances with the right set of mistakes and errors can fetch up to an astonishing $4 million at auction. And to understand why this coin has reached such astronomical value, we need to carefully break down what happened during its production, the possible error types that exist, and how collectors and investors value these unexpected treasures. Because when we talk about the 1993 penny, we are talking about a piece of American coinage history that came out during a period when the United States Mint was already dealing with massive production runs, billions of pennies minted across different facilities. And within that enormous number of coins, just a tiny fraction may have left the mint with striking mistakes, double dies, off-centers, planchet errors, wrong metal compositions, and other anomalies that completely transform their value from a simple cent to a multi-million-dollar collectible. And what makes this so captivating is that anyone who has a handful of change or a jar of pennies at home might unknowingly be holding onto a fortune if they happen to spot one of these rare error coins. So let's go on a long journey through everything that makes the 1993 penny so desirable, and explain why some versions of this coin are valued as high as $4 million, and why collectors compete fiercely to own them, starting with the basics of the 1993 penny, which was struck mainly in Philadelphia and Denver with the familiar Lincoln Memorial design on the reverse that had been in use since 1959, designed by Frank Casparo, and the iconic bust of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse designed by Victor David Brenner, both of which are seen on billions of coins across decades. Yet in 1993, certain unusual events during production gave rise to mistakes unlike the rest of the ordinary strikes. For example, one major possibility is a double die obverse, where the hubbing process causes the design to be impressed more than once, slightly misaligned, so details like the motto "In God We Trust," the date 1993, or the word liberty appear doubled to the naked eye, and these doubled features are highly prized by collectors because they are strikingly visible and very rare. And if a coin like that survives in pristine condition without circulation, where it could already command tens of thousands, but when you combine that with an extraordinary state such as being struck on the wrong planchet, like a silver dime planchet or an off-metal planchet left over from another denomination, suddenly the coin crosses into the hundreds of thousands. And when you add unique provenance, auction bidding wars, and rarity of a single known specimen, the value could climb into the millions. And that is exactly what has happened with a few of the 1993 pennies discovered over the years, because among them there are examples with extraordinary striking errors, like off-center strikes where Lincoln's portrait is cut in half or shifted drastically, or broad strikes where the coin expands beyond its normal rim, or clipped planchets where a portion of the coin is missing due to a misfeed of the metal strip during blank cutting. And these errors fascinate collectors who want the most dramatic and eye-catching examples possible. And yet the story does not stop there, because some 1993 pennies have been found struck on planchets intended for foreign coins, which happened occasionally in the mint when foreign coin production overlapped with U.S. coin production. So a penny struck on a thinner or thicker blank intended for another country immediately becomes an extreme rarity, and if authenticated by grading services like PCGS or NGC, such a coin could easily reach hundreds of thousands of dollars. But when you consider a combination of multiple errors, like a double die obverse on a wrong planchet in uncirculated condition, suddenly you have a once-in-a-lifetime piece that no collector can resist, and the price skyrockets into the multi-million-dollar range. And that is why we talk about a $4,001,993 penny, because the numismatic world is driven by rarity, condition, error type, demand, and uniqueness. And when all those factors line up, the coin is no longer just a cent, it becomes a piece of art, a historical artifact, and a status symbol. And when we explore the possible mistakes further, it becomes clear how many variations could exist that boost the coin's desirability, such as die cracks where lines appear across the surface due to a fractured die, cuts where a portion of the design is missing due to a broken die piece, strike-through errors where foreign material like grease, cloth, or even another coin gets in the way during striking and leaves a deep impression, or even multiple strikes where the coin is struck more than once, creating a ghostly overlapping image. And all of these add layers of rarity that make 1993 pennies stand out. But perhaps the most fascinating angle is the possibility of transitional errors, because remember that by the 1980s pennies had switched from copper to copper-plated zinc, yet occasionally a leftover copper planchet from earlier years could be used by mistake in 1993, resulting in a solid copper coin that should not exist. And such transitional errors are incredibly rare and highly valuable because they represent a clear minting anomaly, and in the past, transitional errors have sold for millions. So if a 1993 full copper penny were to surface in pristine red uncirculated condition authenticated by a grading service, it would not just be a rare penny, it would be a once-in-a-generation find, and collectors would easily push the bidding past $4 million. And the allure of these coins is that they are so unexpected. because you cannot tell from looking at a pile of ordinary pennies what treasures may be hiding, which keeps the hunt alive for so many enthusiasts, and the thrill of possibly discovering a rare 1993 penny error in circulation is what drives people to search through rolls, jars, and collections every day. And beyond the monetary value, there is also the historical and educational aspect, because each error tells a story of how the mint operates, the pressures of mass production, and how even small lapses in quality control can lead to unique survivors that become legends in the hobby. And that is why numismatists devote years of study to cataloging varieties, documenting discoveries, and verifying authenticity, because the market is filled with counterfeits and altered coins, but true certified examples remain untouchable in their prestige. And when we focus back on the 1993 penny, the million-dollar question is how many such spectacular errors could exist, and whether more remain hidden in circulation. Because while only a handful may have been found so far, given the billions minted, there could be undiscovered treasures waiting, and that possibility keeps the excitement alive. And as we wrap this exploration, we see how something as simple as a 1993 one-cent coin transforms into a $4 million marvel when errors, rarity, and collector passion all converge, proving once again that in the world of coin collecting it is not just about the face value, it is about the story, the mistakes, the survival against the odds, and the demand that collectors bring to the auction floor. And this is what makes the hunt for coins, like the 1993 penny, one of the most thrilling adventures in the world of numismatics, because the idea that you could one day stumble upon a coin in your pocket change that could change your life forever keeps the fascination alive. So always check your pennies carefully, because the next fortune could be sitting quietly among them, disguised as an ordinary 1993 cent.